From Washington, the McLaughlin Group, the American original. For over 3 decades, the sharpest minds, best sources, hardest talk.
Issue 1, Obama takes on Ebola.
In West Africa, Ebola is now an epidemic of the likes that we have not seen before. It's spiraling out of control. It is getting worse. It's spreading faster and exponentially. Today, thousands of people in West Africa are infected. That number could rapidly grow to tens of thousands.
President Obama launched an unprecedented plan to fight the spread of the deadly Ebola virus, now afflicting countries chiefly in West Africa. He's dispatching 3,000 American troops on a comprehensive humanitarian mission to help in containing Ebola. The price tag up to $1.26 billion, including $175 million already allocated. The U.S. troops will assist in logistical, engineering, and medical training and help set up 17 field hospitals and 100 beds each. They will also establish a headquarters in the nation of Liberia to coordinate relief efforts. But the military must also rely on its training in biowarfare to protect its personnel against Ebola. Ostensibly, U.S. troops will have no direct contact with patients suffering from Ebola.
Question, is this a proper role for the U.S. military, and is the U.S. doing enough? Pat Buchanan.
The United States, as usual, is doing more than anyone else, John, and the reason the U.S. Army and military is doing it is because there's nobody around that can move that fast and do that much. There is a real element of risk here, I think. If any of these American soldiers should come down with this disease and be brought home, or a number of them, you could have a hellish problem. But John, this is a very serious matter. I think the thing is, it has not mutated yet to where the disease can be airborne from one person to another, and it's still, you have to exchange some kinds of fluids. And so that's one good thing about it. But if it does mutate and this thing becomes airborne, this could be really hellish and an enormous international problem. The influenza epidemic, John, after World War I think it took something like 30 or 40 million lives.
Eleanor.
Well, the United States military is uniquely capable of dealing with this. They have the resources. They can set up military tents in hospitals. They know how to quarantine a population. So this is an appropriate use of the military, and better to send 3,000 soldiers to West Africa than having to deploy probably 200,000 National Guard in this country if that epidemic reached our shores. And it's totally possible that it can. This is the first time this disease has had an outbreak in urban areas. There's a 3-week gestation period. People get on planes, they travel. We have a global, mobile society. So the president is acting in the hope that they can still put some sort of a cap on the spread of this disease. So this is entirely appropriate and an excellent use of the U.S. military humanitarian.
And notwithstanding that, the U.S. military is not equipped to do highly contagious, battle highly contagious outbreaks, and that's what this is.
Well, our military is equipped to handle nerve gas, viral biochemical gas, and
this is biological warfare.
Biological warfare, exactly.
They've never handled that before.
They've had to handle it in combat conditions. However, we are equipped for it. But like Pat said, it can respond faster. Another problem, John, is we've seen this happen more in recent days, is out on the rural areas, people panicking and saying that the Ebola doesn't really exist, this is all a plot, or these health workers are bringing in the Ebola, and as a result, you've had some violent confrontations. It's the sort of thing that as soon as we can help to restore order and contain this virus so it doesn't spread any farther geographically, the better off everybody's going to be.
Well, it's very uplifting, I think, for some people to think that this is fine for the United States to do. But on the reality scale, these men have their lives, and if they have not handled this kind of a situation before, where you have this highly contagious disease.
That's right. It's not
Don't you think you think the commander-in-chief did the right thing to send them over there?
I do, because if this particular disease spreads, and it could spread very quickly, and it could spread to this country, we would be faced with a terrible problem. You've got to get it as soon as you can, with as much as you can, in order to contain it. So this is a practical matter. It's true we are the only country who can do it, but there you are. We are the only country that could do this. But the consequences if we don't do it, and it spreads, would be disastrous.
Okay, hold on. Let's get a little deeper here. Okay, what is Ebola?
It's a virus that causes viral hemorrhagic fever that damages organs in the body, often accompanied by bleeding. It is spread through direct contact with bodily fluids, perspiration, blood, mucus, saliva, urine, feces. There is no vaccination against Ebola, although drug companies are working to develop one. It can kill up to 90% of those who contract it and can spread panic in communities. Ebola has spread to 6 countries in Africa: Senegal, Guinea, Sierra Leone, Liberia, Nigeria, and the Democratic Republic of Congo. The World Health Organization calculates that since December, over the last 9 months, there have been over 5,000 cases and over 2,500 deaths. President Obama has stressed that the likelihood of a U.S. Ebola outbreak is, quote-unquote, extremely low. But that doesn't cover all of the bases, notably global security.
It's a potential threat to global security if these countries break down, if their economies break down, if people panic. That has profound effects on all of us, even if we are not directly contracting the disease.
Question, is it conceivable that this Ebola outbreak could in any way affect global security? Or was that hyperbole on the part of our president?
I think in terms of the global economy and all the rest of it, it is hyperbole. But I will say this. If you get a number of American soldiers contract this disease over there and there's an outbreak there, there will be a firestorm in this country to bring the Americans home and to take care of our own people first. And I think the president will be in very serious trouble if that happens.
But talk about hyperbole. He's already gotten the U.S. troops contracting this. The president said they're not going to come in direct contact with patients. You have to be in touch with the bodily fluids. Besides, if 1 or 2 or more got the disease, we've treated at least 2 people at Emory, and they've recovered, and there's another person in a Nebraska hospital. If you can support somebody well enough, their immune system can battle it.
For 3 weeks.
So I think that if you're going to get worried about this, worry about hundreds of thousands of people maybe contracting this in Africa, maybe the disease being brought here. I wouldn't worry about your scenario, which ends up with Obama somehow taking the blame.
Right. In Guinea, villagers killed 8 people on an Ebola team trying to disinfect the village because they suspected them of spreading the disease. Will U.S. troops be vulnerable to this kind of attack, Mort?
Well, anything is possible. I don't know what the details are in terms of the terms on which they're going to go into various areas. I'm sure that they will take all the appropriate precautions, such as they know what they might be. But this is something that is just a staggering disease that has just come up and come out. So nobody knows quite how to contain it. But the fact is, to follow on what Eleanor was saying, this thing could spread here in one way or another, and if it spreads here, that would be really a disaster for this country.
This makes it all the more important to contain it over there.
Yes, no, you've got to contain it when you can.
Do they really know how to?
We don't know.
Soldiers can't contain it. They're putting up these hospitals and these huts and the rest of
them. They're helping them take care of people who are
infected. But you got hundreds or thousands of people carrying this around. Soldiers can't stop that.
We're not up to hundreds of thousands yet.
Proper disposal of the dead who have suffered from and died from Ebola must be carefully transferred to the ground right away.
Sure, because
now in a delay in that circumstance, the Ebola continues to be a lightning.
Probably one of the reasons it's spreading, where people are dying right in these huts that nobody else is going into.
Okay, let's digress. Clarence, you have a new book, Culture Warrior, an anthology of selected columns, reflections on race, politics, and social change. I happen to have right here with me one of the advanced copies of this volume, which I must tell you is a terrific review of so many important issues that you have handled, and you have handled with such a superb research and your great style. You've always been a great stylist.
Well, thank you, John.
And
you were instrumental in my success. Whatever modicum of success I've got here.
I particularly like Bubba's vocabulary lesson. What was that all about?
Well, I like that one too. Right after the last Democratic convention in 2012, I was talking to Michael Whitmore at the Shakespeare Library here in Washington, one of the great underappreciated treasures of this town. And he's a linguist, and he was fascinated by the contrast between Obama's speaking style and Bill Clinton's style, and got transcripts and went through them looking at the words, and found that Obama was primarily romance words, and Clinton was primarily Anglo-Saxon, y'all. You know, that natural folksy conversational rhythm of his, and the metaphors that were used, etc. And so this became, well, leading off with Obama's quote about somebody telling him you should appoint Bill Clinton the secretary of explaining things. I explain why that characteristic is true.
I see Chris Matthews wrote the introduction to the book. And he wrote here, in these columns you will get the benefit, not just of what this great journalist, you accept that designation?
It's more than I deserve, but I will take it.
All right, so far he's so good with you. This great journalist has covered but what he's been through as a man. So you understand what that sentence means.
Yeah, indeed.
In these columns you get the benefit not just of what this great journalist has covered, but what he's been through as a man. What could be more important? Quote, the life of the law has not been logic, unquote. He quotes Oliver Wendell Holmes, quote, it has been experience, unquote.
Right. One of my favorite quotes from Holmes.
So congratulations. Let's hope the volume goes well. But it's a great, Buchanan, you could use it and refer back to correct some of the effects.
It inspires me to put together 50 years of editorials and columns, John.
Pat's the original culture warrior. That's why I'm worried.
Right.
All right, back to Ebola. Exit question. Will the U.S. military be able to contain the Ebola outbreak? Yes or no? Pat Buchanan.
No, they will not.
A good chance, yes.
I think they will, by acting now.
Yes, I think they will too, but not without an enormous cost.
Do you think they'll bring any back here?
Yeah, I can't say yes. I don't think they will, but because I think they'll be very careful about it. I just don't know if they can detect it when it's in its sort of nascent phase.
Have you heard of the Center for Disease Control?
Sure.
Are they on board with this?
That I don't know.
All the way. They're
They
great.
must
be. They
I'm
must
sure,
be.
look, I mean, everybody's worried, but everybody's pretty much on board.
Why did Obama do it?
I think he felt that there's a real impending danger here. This thing could explode, and we've got to make an effort to contain it, even if it takes some risk.
It's a matter of national security for this country, but it's also a humanitarian effort.
A very good
what
point.
America
A very good point.
is
It's a
well
matter of
known
that.
to be in the lead of, and I'm proud of the fact that we've gotten into this one.
Yeah. Well, let's hope that the soldiers are
Well, it would be
and
national
are
security.
well and remain
it
well.
would be a national security issue, even if it didn't spread to the United States, but spread to other parts of the world.
That's right.
I mean, the whole balance of the world's economy and the sort of the general political mood could shift if you had a giant worldwide epidemic.
Why haven't our chemists and our doctors and the other close observers of this kind of disease, why haven't they been able to break through it?
They have. They're making great advances now.
Yeah.
Advances, people are dying from it.
Well,
They
those two
cured
folks
two-
came back. They cured them. Those two Americans who were over there,
Right.
aid workers and medical workers.
What are
cured
they
them.
saying about Obama's doing what he has just
I
done?
think, well, they stayed. They're very courageous people. They were over there, and I think they probably
Well, did they
would
approve
it.
of sending the army over there?
My guess is would be
countries
yes.
have invited the U.S. in. This is not a hostile
They begged us to
invasion by
come.
any means. And we should say something about all of the Doctors Without Borders, people going in and working at great threat to their
You mean
own
salute them?
lives. Yes, we should salute them.
Let's salute them right now. You salute the Doctors Without Borders? You salute the doctors?
sure do.
You do?
Yes, send your
I do.
contributions, by the way.
Okay, don't forget the McLaughlin Group has its own website, and you can watch this program or earlier programs on the web at any time from anywhere in the world at McLaughlin.com. Could anything be simpler? McLaughlin.com or more self-improving. Right, Pat?
Right,
Hard
you
to
are.
imagine.